Nerd alert! Learning is important, right?
Yes, exactly. What a bunch of nerds.
Nerd alert!
Right.
Marketing Architects.
Hello, and welcome to the Marketing Architects, a research-first podcast dedicated to answering your toughest marketing questions. I'm Elena Jasper on the marketing team here at Marketing Architects, and I'm joined by my co-host, Rob DeMars, the Chief Product Architect of Misfits and Machines.
Howdy.
We're back with your weekly Nerd Alert. Every week, I'll take a deep dive into academic marketing research and translate its complex ideas into simple, understandable language for Rob, and of course, for all of you. Are you ready to nerd out, Rob?
Call 911, Elena. Call 911 because I can smell a 3-alarm nerd fire burning just over yonder. I mean,
I don't think the local police would appreciate that if I called 911.
Okay.
All right. That was a creative one. Let's get into it. As always, we'll link the research we cover in the episode notes. This week, I read a study titled Neural Signals of Video Advertisement Liking, Insights into Psychological Processes and Their Temporal Dynamics by Hang-Yi Chan, Martin A.S. Boxum, Vinod Venkataraman, Roland Ditvorst, Kristen Scholes, Koi Vo, Emily B. Folk, and Al Schmitz. I have to say all their names.
I mean,
it's so hard.
That's wow.
There's a lot of authors. I'm sorry.
That's a lot of names with
It's
syllables.
A lot of names, and a lot of them are really hard to pronounce. So a lot of people worked on this study together. This was published in 2023. But before I get into things, Rob, I wanted to ask you, how fast do you think people know whether they like or dislike an ad?
I think it's primal to just know within the first couple seconds. And I think, we've been conditioned with social media too, with all of these ads coming at us so fast. And, you talk about the thumb stoppers that we're just being wired to know within the first couple seconds if we like it. That'd be my guess.
All right. Well, the study took that question and they hooked it up to an fMRI machine. So these researchers, they wanted to understand what's happening in your brain when we decide whether or not we like an ad. And then when we decide, is it early on in the first few seconds, like you're thinking, or do we wait until the very end?
Wow.
To find out, they pooled 3 different fMRI data sets. They had 113 participants across 2 countries watching 85 video ads. While they watched, the researchers measured neural activity in real time, then used an AI tool called NeuroSyth to decode which psychological processes were lighting up in the brain and when. And what they found was within just 3 seconds, people's emotional and memory processing regions were already offering strong signals about how they'd rate the ad later. In other words, you're right, we make up our minds very fast. But things shift as the ad goes on. So emotional influence, it peaks early and then it drops off. Meanwhile, brain regions associated with social cognition, which aids in understanding a character's intentions and feelings, start to rise and hold steady. Then towards the end of the ad, perception and executive function become more predictive. So what that tells us is the brain doesn't process ads in one uniform way. The way we judge an ad evolves as we watch it. So first we feel, then we understand, and then we evaluate. And that order matters. So Rob, does that track with how you experience ads personally? Do you find yourself liking an ad right away? Or do you kind of change your mind? Do you need the full story?
The full story is certainly needed, but without that strong grabber, to me, that's where the real art form is, pulling someone in and getting their relevant attention to your ad right away. So yes, I do appreciate the full story, but I'll never even understand the full story if I don't get it initially through a compelling grabber.
We're really in line with this study. They didn't just look at individual responses, they looked at aggregate population level liking. And what they found was these neural signals, especially those related to emotion and social cognition, they could predict how much the general public would like a given ad. In fact, early onset neural activity in those areas added predictive power above and beyond traditional self-report ratings. So let's say you run a focus group and everybody said, I liked that ad. That's helpful, but if you had data on how brains responded in the first 10 seconds, you'd have an even better shot at predicting how that ad would perform in market. Essentially, it's what you're saying, Rob. Like if you could look at how everybody responds right away, that's going to be even more predictive of how the ad's going to do. To validate this, the researchers ran a behavioral replication. What they did was they showed UK participants the first 10 seconds of Super Bowl ads and asked them about their emotional response and how much they mentalized, which is basically how much did they connect with the characters or narrative. And those early reactions, they predicted how much the entire US population liked those ads. Just the opening. They didn't need the punchline, the twist at the end, or the dramatic voiceover. Just that first part of the ad is where the audience is already making up their minds about how they feel about it.
Wow.
So Rob, with that in mind, do you think that marketers, do we put too much weight on the end of our ads and not enough on the beginning?
I think it's a classic sin we see a lot in advertising where we have some generalized story that's not even related to the product and then a product logo at the end. So yeah, I do think we overemphasize that the importance of establishing the branding just at the end and not throughout, which then leads to the bigger narrative you're talking about of saying, yeah, I do think that we should be spending much more time in the first 10 seconds of a commercial. I just think that's classic good advertising, as we were talking about earlier. It's just like without someone's attention, it doesn't really matter, right? So
yeah,
that was
agreed.
A really long non-answer.
No, I think, I don't know. I like that. I think that one thing I was thinking about was same as you, ads that wait until the very end to reveal what their brand is. I think this makes it clear that the first few seconds of your ad matter a lot to how people are going to feel about it. So if you can have a good first impression and it's clear who your brand is, I would think that that would benefit how much the audience ends up liking the ads. So this study, it challenges the so-called peak end rule, which I'm sure we've all heard of, that suggests that the end of an experience shapes how we remember it. But instead, in video advertising, this data suggests that early affect and mid to late social cognition are more important. So the big picture is that this study shows our brain's emotional and memory systems react almost instantly during an ad and predict whether someone will like it. Social cognition picks up mid-ad and holds strong, and perception and executive function peak at the end. But most importantly, those early signals, especially around emotion and social connection, can help predict how the general public will respond to your ad. Now for our Rob GPT, building your ad around the ending is like cooking a 5-course meal and serving the best dish after everyone's already full. Sure, it's impressive, but no one's really hungry by then. The brain decides what it likes in the first few bites. So skip the slow build, start strong, hit early, and give emotion a seat at the table. All right, Rob, what do you think of that one?
I think this is fascinating. One of the things I can't get over right now is their methodology of using an fMRI machine. Like, how did they do that? Because those are like tubes. So how are they watching TV commercials in an fMRI tube? You know what I'm saying? Like,
are they
it's not
always
like
tubes?
Well, I had to look it up while we were talking. It's not like it's a helmet you put on someone and they watch TV commercials. It's like a full on. It's one of those things. If you have like jewelry on, you'll die. Like how do they show people TV commercials? And does that skew the data slightly? Because I'm in a tube.
And they're like, "Get me out of here! I'll tell you right away how I feel."
Tube, I want to get out. and how are you showing them the commercials? You got that tick 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 tick. Like, so I don't know, but it's fascinating. I'm not trying to throw shade at the methodology. I'm sure they did it just right. It's just as someone who's frequented those machines, I'm just like, how do you show commercials in it?
I mean, it's such a great question. I don't know. Maybe, are you sure you always have to be in the tube?
I don't at all, actually. That's why I had to look it up. I mean, I know sometimes they have those, like, what are they, tubeless? But I don't know if that's a fMRI one. I mean, but you can see it online. It's like a big thing and you go into it. And have you had one of those before? Or I've had.
I have.
Them.
Yeah, I didn't. But yeah, I mean, they used fMRI machines is what it's saying.
Yeah.
Based on brain responses during. I'm just making sure that wasn't like just a
no.
Part of the data
And I'm
set,
not throwing shade at it. I just it sparked my imagination when you said that. I'm like, wow, I wonder how they actually do that. Like, where?
Yeah, I'd love to know what that looks like. Yeah, because that does feel important. You're right. If I was in a tube and they were showing me 85 video ads, I probably would right away.
I want out.
Yeah, give you my answer. That's it for this episode of The Marketing Architects. We'd like to thank Taylor De Los Reyes for producing the show. You can connect with us on LinkedIn, and if you like the podcast, please leave us a review. Now go forth and build great marketing.
Marketing Architects.